Welcome to GoodNight Audio, wishing you a pleasant listening experience. I am a soul summoner, making a living by performing soul salvation rituals. But then someone accused me of exploiting superstition for fraud, and I was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison. Released from prison, my heart filled with resentment, I became a detective, specializing in confronting the policemen who arrested me. Every time a murder occurred, I would summon the spirit of the deceased to ask clearly who the guilt was. Afterward, I would anonymously send the culprit's photo to him, but always ensured he only received the letter after solving the case, purely to provoke and humiliate him. However, with this case of the murdered genius girl that is shaking the entire nation, I struggled greatly to summon her spirit, yet she furiously screamed at me. If I knew who poisoned me, I would have died from the poison myself. I had heard that geniuses are often short-tempered, but I didn't expect it to be to this extent. Now, the spirit of the genius girl Lin Xiaoyang is hovering before my eyes. I'm with her legs crossed in a look of disdain. She gives me the feeling of standing before my great-grandmother, my knees involuntarily wanting to buckle. 3 days ago, Lin Xiaoyang, who was always the center of attention, suddenly died in the school dormitory, immediately capturing the nation's interest. After all, this genius had been studying the entire high school curriculum since elementary school. At 12, she took the university entrance exam, admitted to Tsinghua University with an exceptionally high score of 725, far surpassing other candidates. Before the age of 15, she had almost swept all the awards in the math, physics, and chemistry Olympiads. Having just come of age, she had completed her master's and doctoral combined program and was reportedly preparing to form her own research group to lead her own projects. No one could have imagined that she would pass away so suddenly at such a young age. It must be said that this is undoubtedly a great loss to the academic community. No, not just the academic community, but an irreparable loss to society as a whole. The media coverage and reporting on this case were overwhelming, and despite the police's strict confidentiality regulations, Lin Xiaoyang's death report was leaked online. If she had died in an accident, people might have just sighed, lamenting the loss of a talented individual. However, the death report clearly stated the cause of death as poisoning, implying a deliberate murder. How could anyone tolerate this? Therefore, on that very day, in addition to the public outcry online, citizens spontaneously gathered in front of the police station, holding banners, demanding that the police quickly solve the case, find the perpetrator, and severely punish them, thereby bringing justice to the deceased. Yet, 72 hours have passed since the incident occurred, and the police have meticulously investigated all of Lin Xiaoyang's relationships, but have not found a single suspect. Seeing the police chief pacing anxiously like an ant on a hot pan, I realized I could use this case to step on him. Who would have thought there would be a killer so clever that even the victim wouldn't know who harmed them? I asked hesitantly, "Can you tell me what exactly happened that day?" In my 20 years as a medium, I have never been so humiliated. Because I almost had to perform a comedy for her. Perhaps I could help her find the killer. Lin Xiaoyang thought for a moment and then curiously asked, "Are you a police officer?" I shook my head. "No." "Then why do you care so much?" I put on an indignant face and said, "The passing of a genius is a loss to the entire world. I believe there is no one in this world who would let a genius like you die unjustly." "Oh, please." She wouldn't even spare a glance at my act. "If that were truly the case, would I be dead?" I said indignantly. "That's why I say, this killer is truly heinous." She was about to say something else, but I interrupted, continuing to persuade her. "Even if you were just an ordinary person, would you be content to die without knowing the truth? Aren't you curious about who wanted to kill you? Don't you want to know why and how they harmed you? Besides, a rare talent like you, harboring wisdom and power that ordinary people like me cannot comprehend, to just die like that, don't you find it a pity? I was about to say more, but she had lost patience. All right, be quiet, she ordered me. Quick, get some paper and a pen and write this down. I said, truly a genius, even in death, a genius. I don't need to waste too many words. Unexpectedly, before she could even speak, I heard the police siren. The speed of Shu Nanting has always been very fast, but no matter how fast he is, he must be one step slower than me. As a result, before I could even run, Lin Xiaoyang instinctively prepared to flee. But how could she know that the ghosts in legends can have their own consciousness, but they absolutely cannot act freely? Otherwise, it wouldn't be that I could summon them at will. I trapped her with my spiritual artifact, the soul bottle, while asking, "You are not a criminal. Why are you running from the police?" Facing the unfamiliar environment, she showed no fear, and after entering the bottle, she became even more composed. Sighing, she said, "Do you think everyone is like you, fearless? I know. Shu Nanting has always been trying to catch the anonymous person who sent him the killer's photos. Because every time he painstakingly found the real killer, someone would send him a letter. The letter contained the killer's photo, and the time of sending could be a few days prior, or even a few weeks prior. If it had only happened once, he might have thought it was a coincidence. But I have been out of prison for 2 years, and the murder cases he handled total 8, and it happened every time. If his psychological resilience were any weaker, he would have collapsed long ago. This time, the reason he could track the clues here is entirely because Lin Xiaoyang is an extremely special girl. She was wholeheartedly devoted to her studies and research, with no hobbies or recreational pursuits. However, to perform a soul summoning, I needed a personal and significant belonging of the deceased, but I knew nothing about the items she researched. Reluctantly, I had to sneak into the police evidence room to steal her bra. This is no different from stealing cat food. If Officer Shu Nanting couldn't catch me for this, he wouldn't deserve to be a police officer. Judging by the commotion, I guessed the arrest warrant had been approved. Otherwise, why would so many police officers be here? In an instant, the entire street became chaotic. I gathered my belongings, jumped straight out the window, and fled, then deliberately led Officer Shu Nanting into a dead-end alley. I had surveyed this place beforehand. It's a demolition zone long abandoned by residents. For safety reasons, the entire area is fenced with blue corrugated iron, leaving no escape route. Most importantly, the paths inside are narrow and winding. Under the cover of night, this place appears gloomy and terrifying, much like a domestic horror film. Except for an exceptionally peculiar individual like Officer Shu Nanting, I doubt anyone would dare to pursue me in here. Shen Linnian, you are suspected of obstructing an officer in the execution of their duty and stealing evidence. I am officially arresting you. If you resist, I will shoot. It was one thing for him not to call me by name. I wasn't angry, but the moment he did, I felt an urge to fight him. I stopped running and ambushed him. I kicked his gun away and then we grappled. Crime. What else can you police officers do besides pinning crimes on others? I've helped you solve so many cases. What crime have I committed? In terms of close combat, I was certainly no match for him, but I excelled at psychological tactics. I deliberately provoked him, saying that all this effort to arrest me was simply because you couldn't find any leads and wanted to extract information from me. If you had kindly requested, I might have cooperated. But by using force to coerce me, even if I knew who the killer was, I wouldn't tell you. Why? Shu Nanting was certainly affected. But he is, After all, specially trained and quickly renewed his composition. He immediately found the loophole. So you admit you smell them. You also stole Lin Xiaoyang's underwear. I am wearing a law enforcement recording device, and every word you say is evidence. He punched me hard and ordered, "Stop, or you'll be charged with resisting arrest, and the sentence will be heavier." I didn't hold back either. I kicked him hard in the back, then pinned him to the ground, saying, "I'm already in prison. What do I have to fear from a heavier sentence? Shen Linnian, are you even human? I knelt and begged you, yet you still arrested me. Will the world collapse without me in prison? Will you get promoted or get rich by arresting me?" Thinking about it makes me want to cry bitter tears. 4 years ago, I was hired by a rich man for 500,000 yuan to summon his deceased father. His father died suddenly without leaving a will. According to inheritance law, the son had to share his assets with his stepmother and half-siblings. He was unhappy and insisted on summoning his father to clarify things. As a result, his father said he had left a will bequeathing all his assets to his current wife and her children, leaving him not a single penny. I told him the truth, as I must respect the wishes of the deceased. As a result, the man went mad. He first paid me the agreement upon 500,000 yuan. Then he turned me in, reporting me for fraud by exploiting superstition and taking 500,000 yuan. If convicted, I would have to serve at least 10 years. At that time, I had a special reason to go abroad. In the end, I walked all the way to the border, but was still caught by Shen Linnian. I explained that I truly did not commit fraud, that the money was agreed upon. But without a contract, and with my attempt to flee the country, my explanation became extremely weak. Helplessly, I told him everything. I am a medium, specializing in summoning spirits for salvation. But because we are born with this ability, our lifespans are particularly short, usually dying around 30. However, in recent years, I have found a way to resolve this. It turns out that people like us face a great tribulation at age 25. If we can overcome this tribulation, we can live peacefully until old age. Originally, I couldn't reveal too many details, but seeing his skeptical expression, I invoked divine punishment and said, "This tribulation requires a magical artifact. I now know that artifact is in that country. The high price I offered was to find that artifact. Everything I said is true. Please believe me. After I successfully overcome the tribulation, I will return and surrender. Is that acceptable?" At that time, I was crying profusely, but he was like a robot unmoved. He arrested me, took me to court, and imprisoned me. A complete package, no mercy. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, and the stronger my grip grew. That is, I am good at dealing with ghosts, but with people, I am just an ordinary person. I truly couldn't fight the police. I don't even know when I gave him a chance to breathe. Suddenly, he turned the tables and counterattacked. I am not human. No way. Do you want to hear what you said back then? The crime was your own doing. The report was filed by that rich man. The sentence was passed by the court, and the prison is where you were held. I was just doing what a police officer should do. You wrote 108 curses to me in prison, and after your release, you still continued this with me. Every case I handle, you have to interfere. Also, the amount involved in the case was 500,000 yuan, and you were only sentenced to 1.5 years. Do you have any complaints about that sentence? Why are you fixed on me? I was full of resentment, but unexpectedly, his resentment was even higher than mine. After just a few punches, I felt I couldn't take it, but I still answered his question. Because you could clearly have let me go, but you insisted on arresting me. At this moment, Shen Linnian's hand stopped hitting me. His expression was indescribably grim. Haha, is that your logic? Then, why don't you blame your parents? They could have aborted you, but they chose to give birth to you. Why don't you blame yourself? You could have been a good person, but you chose the path of crime. I admitted it. I knew long ago that I couldn't beat him or argue him, or I wouldn't hate him so much. Fine, you caused me to miss the opportunity to transcend, and my life won't last long. Yet you act so wronged. He pulled me up from the ground, cuffed me, and said, "Stop with the bowing and scraping. Young man, you can find a job and live. Why get involved in these things? Just you wait. You're charged with stealing evidence from the victim at the police station." Before he could finish speaking, my soul fell into despair. My finger moved slightly, the urn opened, and a green light flashed. Lin Xiaoyang's soul flew straight to Shu Nanting. "Just you wait," I mimicked his tone. "If it weren't for letting the living and the dead meet, I would have lost years of my life. Last time, I would have shown you the power of the ancient souls. Now, since I'm about to die anyway, wishing you all a good day, there's nothing left to fear." Su Nanting froze. He stared at the soul before him, then smirked and turned to me, saying, "Officer Lin, yesterday was just a projection. I am a staunch materialist." Without waiting for me to speak, Lin Xiaoyang said, "Officer Shu, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Lin Xiaoyang. Can you help me find the person who killed me?" As soon as she spoke, not only Su Nanting was started, but even I was. After all, Lin Xiaoyang's attitude towards him and towards me was worlds apart. Her tone was so charming it was intoxicating. "I know you have countless questions, but I hope you can trust us. After all, you have nothing to lose. I feel Su Nanting is about to collapse." I casually supported him and said, "Whether you believe it or not, decide after you hear it." The fact that he didn't run away immediately meant he wanted to listen. Lin Xiaoyang quickly seized the opportunity and said, "I know the police have probably investigated my connections. What I ate, drank, where I went, and what happened that day, you must have figured it out. I have also reviewed it myself, and I believe the poison was not ingested through food or drink, as I rarely ate alone. I usually dined with the senior professors. If there was poison, they being elderly and frail, would have been affected. I, being young and healthy, should not have died immediately upon exposure." She asked curiously, "Officer Shu, did the forensic examination identify the poison I was exposed to?" Su Nanting hesitated slightly, then shook his head, saying, "Not yet. The deceased's internal organs had turned black, clearly indicating poisoning, but the specific poison has not been identified." It's truly baffling. Before I died, I didn't notice anything unusual. I recall that day I had a debate with the professors and won, but I felt I hadn't performed optimally. After returning to the dormitory, I lay on my bed reflecting. Suddenly, I felt a burning sensation in my chest and difficulty breathing. I tried to get up but found I could no longer move. Shortly after, I completely lost consciousness. It wasn't until my familiar spirit detected a scent and heard someone calling my name that I gradually regained my cognitive abilities. Su Nanting asked, "Did you have any grudges against anyone?" "No, my relationships are very simple. Since entering Tsinghua, I've dedicated all my efforts to my studies and research. Apart from the professors, I was their only student. I understand the situation. But you couldn't have had absolutely no contact with anyone else. Think carefully if you had any conflicts, however minor. If you encountered someone with a dark heart, it could have been a reason for them to harm you." Su Nanting unconsciously glanced at me again. I was extremely shocked. "You're going to die before 30, and I curse you a few times, and that's considered a dark heart." Lin Xiaoyang let out a soft sound and said, "I just remembered a few names. Please write them down. I rarely paid attention to others, but these individuals left the deepest impression on me. Danya Zhou Ming and Uncle Ming. These three were my roommates at different times before I started my postgraduate studies, so they had relatively frequent contact with me. After starting my postgraduate studies, I lived in a single dormitory, so I had fewer conflicts. Wei Min, the only person who ever wrote me a love letter. Am Lin Qi, a junior who joined this year. However, he is currently an undergraduate and has very little contact with me. Sunanting meticulously took notes and then asked, anyone else? I can only think of these individuals. What about the professors? Do you suspect them? Lin Xiaoyang quickly said, impossible. They cherished me like a treasure, always protecting and nurturing me. Their grievance at my death would likely surpass that of my parents. I will verify everything you've said. If you remember anything else, you must report it to the police immediately. Furthermore, please maintain regular contact, as we may need to reach out for further inquiries at any time. This person is quite adept at role-playing. In an instant, I sensed an extremely unusual aura emanating from them. Sunanting and Lin Xiaoyang's eyes met, but neither could utter a word. Neither of them likely knows how difficult it was for me to perform this spell, yet they both fell silent simultaneously. After a moment, Sunanting spoke. My apologies, I forgot you were deceased. I could have held on a little longer, but for some reason, Lin Xiaoyang suddenly flashed and disappeared. Being pulled back into the soul calming urn, I sighed, then casually struck Sunanting on the back of the neck, causing him to pass out on the spot. Afterward, I quickly dripped a few drops of my blood into the soul calming urn. Lin Xiaoyang immediately reverted to her petulant self, yelling at me. What are you doing? Trying to make me smell like fish. What, did you forget you were dead too? Immediately, she fell silent. I replaced the lid of the urn and explained. My blood can help your soul condense for a while longer. Otherwise, even within the urn, your soul might dissipate. After all, I am a dying person, and my magical power is not as strong as it used to be. I curiously asked, did you know Sunanting before? No, I didn't. So why did you act so coquettishly the moment you saw him? She shouted at me again. When meeting the police, one naturally has to be a bit reserved. Do you have a problem with that? If you do, just swallow it. Truly, I am considered experienced, but she was genuinely fierce, making me feel a sense of awe. But I still fearlessly teased, with such a fiery temper. Have you really not offended anyone? She shouted loudly at me again. I only treat you this way. Don't think I don't know you stole my bra. Fortunately for you, I am already dead. Otherwise, I would have split your head in two. The next time I saw Sunanting was in the interrogation room. Looking at his hand full of marks and his bloodshot eyes, I knew how much psychological torment he had endured after waking up. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to. He rushed to me, asking if this was a dream, if it was real. I saw Lin Xiaoyang. I spoke with her. She told me these names, right? I'm familiar with them, nothing strange. But his colleagues were different. They hurriedly pulled him away. Captain Shu, please calm down. This fellow, let us interrogate him. If these cases are related to him, he will definitely be imprisoned for life this time. At that time, I looked at Sunanting, who was on the verge of going mad, and calmly uttered a statement that was quite philosophical. If you cannot refute an argument, then try to accept it. Only by accepting it can you face it in the best possible state. Recalling that year, in this very room, I cried and called for help, and he faced me with the same composition. Crossing the border illegally, there is no such thing as traveling abroad. Without a visa, it is a legal border crossing. If you did not commit a crime, why did you cross the border? Finally, even though the accuser admitted at first that he did so voluntarily, then because the amount of money was too large and he felt it was not worth it. He accused me to get his money back. I was still sentenced to 1.5 years. because I did indeed engage in exploiting superstition for high remuneration and attempted to flee abroad. No matter how many times I slapped him with the culprit's photo, he didn't collapse. But now, Shen Linnian has truly collapsed. His worldview has been turned upside down. He picked up his official recording device and said, "The device recorded nothing." So where did these names come from? These roommates were all people who lived with her during university several years ago. They have all since graduated and gone their separate ways. If Lin Xiaoyang hadn't mentioned them, the police might not have thought of them. The young man who confessed his love to her is even more private. Herself, perhaps no one else knew. Shen Linnian grabbed my shoulders and shook me violently, almost shouting, "What on earth is going on? How did you do it?" I had really wanted to see him break down, but at this moment I felt no satisfaction at all. I reminded him, "Shen Linnian, you are a police officer. Your psychological resilience shouldn't be this weak. This world is vast and diverse. Just because you haven't encountered something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you truly cannot accept it, you can pretend to accept it. If everything turns out to be wrong in the end, you will definitely find a loophole. Don't you police always say to hypothesize boldly, but prove cautiously? I usually provoke and belittle him. It's rare for me to offer comfort." He quickly adjusted his mood. He handed the list from his notebook to his colleague and instructed, "Invite these individuals to come over first." Then he asked everyone to leave, wanting to speak with me privately. He held up the photos I had sent and asked, "Can you summon the spirits of the dead to ask who the killer is?" "Right?" I nodded. He asked, with a hint of urgency, "Then can you summon Lin Xiaoyang again? I want to see her again." I was in a difficult position. I could summon her, but it would consume my life force. I turned 30 in 2 months, and I would die suddenly and unexpectedly then. "Since you are going to die anyway, please help me summon her one more time." As soon as he finished speaking, both of us fell silent. I didn't expect him to say that. I asked, "Are you speaking human language?" He also seemed surprised by his own words. He slapped himself hard and said, "Oh, sorry, I got a bit agitated. I've never encountered a case like this." The killer's methods were so clean that the police couldn't even find a single suspect. Lin Xiaoyang was a genius. Even if she only focused on academics, her IQ was definitely higher than average. Who could have killed her so stealthily? He placed almost all his hopes on me. This case was not simply about the loss of a life. So far, the top secret information the police have is that Lin Xiaoyang was about to take charge of a scientific research project directly overseen by the state. If the research is successful, our world's civilization will reach a new level. No one dares to imagine if this case is related to that. It would mean there are spies within the organization. But the entire project was just in its infancy, and even Lin Xiaoyang herself knew very little about it. How could outsiders know? If this case cannot be solved, the nation's losses will be immeasurable. I don't care if you summon spirits or ghosts. As a citizen of our country, you have a duty to assist the police in their investigation. At first, I was confused, but now I understand a little. You want me to help solve the case, but you don't need to offer me such a high position. If I didn't want to find the killer, why would I go to all this trouble? Right now, no one wants to know who killed Lin Xiaoyang more than I do. I gave him an okay gesture and said, "I can help, but you have to promise me something." "What is it?" I was joking. I haven't thought of anything yet. "In short, I'll tell you before I die." She was an odd person. I lived with her in the dormitory for a year, but we didn't interact much. However, she was younger than me, so I naturally wanted to look after her. She was naive about girls' matters, knowing nothing. I taught her everything, although she was unsophisticated. Her ability to learn and comprehend was extraordinary. Despite our limited communication, we were exceptionally in sync. That was Dan Ya's assessment of Lin Xiaoyang. She was 6 years older than Lin Xiaoyang. After graduating from university, she moved to another city for work. She lamented, "After I moved out of the dormitory, we met much less frequently. However, I always heard news about her. What awards she won, what papers she published, or what shocking statements she made to her advisor. But I never thought I would see news of her murder online one day." Her memory was excellent, and her lifestyle was very regimented. Not necessarily obsessive-compulsive, but extremely self-disciplined. For example, her books were always arranged alphabetically, and only one pen was allowed on her desk. That was Zhou Ming's assessment of her. Zhou Ming recently graduated with a master's degree and is now working at a research institute. The project he is involved in requires confidentiality, and he is usually unable to contact the outside world for months at a time. I truly don't believe she was poisoned. Having lived with her for half a year, I never saw her snack or drink soda. She ate to be full and drank water to quench her thirst. She had almost no desire for food or drink. Su Nanting asked, "Did anything happen while you were living with her that left a deep impression?" Zhou Ming pondered and said, "Although we shared a room, we actually had very little contact. She spent most of her time in the library or laboratory, often all day. However, I noticed that for a period, she was very fond of the color red. Red why? I'm not sure, but based on my experience, she was probably in love. Love. She wasn't even 15 years old. That's normal. It's common for girls aged 14, 15 to fall in love. Do you know who it was?" Su Nanting guessed. "Was it Wei Min?" "I don't know. It could have been a secret crush. That period didn't last long. A genius like her certainly wouldn't waste too much time on romance." After that, Su Nanting went to see Wei Min. He looked very dejected. "I know I'm not worthy of her. Back then, I was just impulsive. I thought I was also a genius. Geniuses deserve geniuses, isn't that a perfect match? But I forgot that what I achieved at 18, she had already accomplished at 12. I regret it deeply. I should have persisted, but my pride wouldn't allow it. After being rejected, I deliberately avoided her. I could have stayed at the university, but I chose a different path. We all considered her a genius and forgot that she was also a girl who needed protection and care from a partner." Su Nanting asked, "After being rejected, did you resent her?" "I can't say I resented her, but I was certainly a bit unconvinced." Wei Min looked up and asked, "Officer, what do you mean? You're not suspecting that because my confession was unsuccessful, I became resentful and killed her, are you?" "How could that be?" "You don't do research, so you might not understand, but humans, we usually only compete with those on our level. Towards those who far surpass us, we can only admire and revere them." Lin Qi, because she was still in contact with Lin Xiaoyang, was interviewed after the incident. No suspicious points were found. Su Nanting was at a dead end. Now only Wei Xiaoxi remains, who is currently abroad and has not yet given a statement to the police. But she only lived with Lin Xiaoyang for half a year, and she went abroad 5 years ago. She hasn't returned to the country in 5 years, so she can basically be ruled out as a suspect. He looked at me, hesitating to speak, but I understood him. Everything Lin Xiaoyang could figure out, he had already told you. Meeting her again, besides making me look foolish, has no other meaning. No, I want to ask you, based on your knowledge, is there any poison or anything with a similar effect that can be absorbed unknowingly and does not cause immediate symptoms? I thought carefully and said, in ancient times, that would be possible. But with modern medicine, even if there were no symptoms of poisoning, they are students from Tsinghua and Peking University, and they have free physical examinations twice a year. Wouldn't they have discovered some issues? Su Nanting said with difficulty. Her annual health check reports were immediately investigated by the police, and there were no problems at all. Her parents and ancestors for 3 generations have no hereditary diseases. He then asked, is there anything like goo poison, the kind that uses spells to kill people, but the autopsy results show poisoning? I sighed. You are enlightened now, opening the door to another world, right? Your imagination is so rich. If you really had such abilities, what would be the point of your criminal investigation team's existence? He almost fell into a state of self-deception. He seemed to be convincing himself that he must have missed some crucial information, and the perpetrator could not have left no trace of the crime. Lin Xiaoyang was also particularly concerned about the results. I told her the situation truthfully, and she also asked vexedly, what kind of poison is so potent that even the forensic doctor cannot detect what it is? Then this thing must be very rare, and the person who possesses it must be very few. If we can find out what kind of poison it is, the scope of the suspect will be greatly narrowed down. Su Nanting also said so, but it could not be detected. Initially, it was suspected to be benzene poisoning, then suspected to be arsenic poisoning, but the symptoms of both did not match. Now the forensic doctor suspects thallium poisoning, but there are still no results. Because there have been no cases of thallium poisoning before, the forensic doctor does not know the specific symptoms. Lin Xiaoyang thought for a moment and said, no matter what kind of poison it is, this thing definitely cannot be found on the market, so where would it be? I can only think of the chemical storage room. Do you universities have such a place? Yes, but the management is very strict. I believe the police have already checked. If there were any problems, they wouldn't be so anxious. She pondered for a moment, then asked, can I speak directly with the police again? I swallowed and asked, you both want me to summon immediately, right? My life is not a dog's life. Seeing me frown and twist, she quickly said, no. I'm just worried that your ability to express yourself might not accurately convey my words, understand? Meaning my lifespan is not important. Solving the case is important to you. You are so special. Even in death you will become a legendary ghost. Seeing my silence, her curiosity resurfaced. You are also special. Won't you become a ghost after death? I coughed, saying irritably, however, it's not impossible for the two of you to meet. But you have to promise me something. What is it? I said loudly. Whatever I tell you to do, you must do it. In short, in the future, when I need you, whatever I ask you to do, you must do it. She spread her hands, her expression fearless. I am just curious. What else can I do in this state? It's so difficult to even find the one who harmed me. My entire life, my dreams, my future, my talents, everything. Lin Xiaoyang suddenly shifted to a melancholic tone, sighing. I am only 18 years old. I should be the sun at 8 or 9 a.m., shining brightly like the midday sun. Why have I suddenly stopped at this desolate sunset? Don't you think I am pitiful? What's more, she called me Brother Shen in such a sweet tone. Honestly, who could stand that? I then performed a ritual to allow Shu Nanting and Lin Xiaoyang to meet. The location was the interrogation room. This time, both were familiar with the route, wasting no time, and went straight to the details of the case. The forensic doctor could not identify the poison, but this poison must have passed through me as an intermediary to enter the body. It was not ingested, nor drunk, so it is very likely to be from the items I use daily. Lin Xiaoyang said, my belongings are basically in the dormitory. You must have checked them already, right? Did you find anything? Not just the belongings in your room, but the 4 walls, the mold on the walls. Nothing, even the spider webs in the corners and the dormitories above, below, to the left and to the right of your room have all been meticulously inspected. There were no harmful substances, not even formaldehyde levels exceeding the limit. Even the laboratory you frequent, in short. All the items you frequently come into contact with have been screened, and there are no clues. Lin Xiaoyang could not think of anything either. After a moment, Su Nanting asked somewhat awkwardly, "Have you ever had relations with anyone outside this school?" This statement alone was enough to cast a pall over the atmosphere. Fearing that Lin Xiaoyang might not understand, he specifically added, "sexual relations." In that moment, I felt Lin Xiaoyang's soul flicker with a blue light, a sign that her spirit was about to dissipate. I quickly bit my fingertip and let a few drops of blood fall onto her to help stabilize her spiritual form. I scolded Su Nanting, "Hey, she just died. She didn't commit a crime. She is a genius, that's true, but she is also a girl, only 18 years old. Do you have nothing else to ask?" Lin Xiaoyang's strong reaction made Su Nanting appear very awkward, and he quickly explained, "I could only think of a plot from a movie where a wife poisons herself and then infects her husband with the poison during intercourse, causing his death. Therefore," Lin Xiaoyang's face turned bright red. She raised her hands as if to cover her face, but then realized she was merely an illusion and had no physical form. I had no choice but to pretend to be calm and say, "I don't have a boyfriend. Nor have I ever had relations with anyone else." Su Nanting seemed to want to gloss over this part and continued, "Besides your dormitory, do you have any personal belongings, like items you've used consistently for many years, although the autopsy indicated acute poisoning? Otherwise, your internal organs wouldn't have turned black, and you wouldn't have felt anything unusual. I still suspect chronic poisoning. Suppose there was an item you always used that was poisoned, and the toxin slowly seeped into your body, accumulating to a certain level before manifesting. This is not an impossible scenario. I've looked into similar cases. There was a case where a stepmother gave her stepdaughter a necklace containing radioactive material, causing the daughter to die of cancer. Lin Xiaoyang thought for a moment and said, "I don't have such things. I'm not interested at all. Besides books, my personal belongings are buttons and medals, but who wears medals every day?" Su Nanting intended to ask more, but Lin Xiaoyang's eyes were already closed. Even if she had wanted to stay, I was already at my wit's end. Su Nanting looked at my disheveled state, walked over, and handed me a tissue, saying, "If I stew a chicken for you to replenish your strength, can you extend the time a bit?" Exhausted, I was sitting on a chair in the interrogation room, gasping for air, when someone walked in and happened to overhear this sentence. Immediately, her expression changed. I have reason to suspect she just imagined an 800-episode drama. Just as Su Nanting said, in Lin Xiaoyang's dormitory, even cockroaches would be interrogated. The police's focus on the death of a genius was far beyond my imagination. Yet, they still couldn't find any clues. Su Nanting said that the top investigators and medical experts nationwide had gathered here, but there was still no breakthrough. Whether it's online or offline, people are extremely concerned. The pressure is immense. If the culprit isn't found, I can only be atoned with my life. He invited me to dinner, constantly putting food and soup in my bowl, telling me to nourish myself well. It's just that if this stuff worked, I would have already gained significant weight on my own. I thought to myself, the person who could kill a genius must be a genius greater than a genius. Such a person hiding among ordinary people is truly terrifying. I thought of a point, and I wasn't sure if I should say it. I spoke slowly. Su Nanting immediately stopped eating and looked at me in surprise. "Whether you should say it or not, you have to say it for me to judge. As a man." "Why are you so hesitant?" "I thought about it this way. Look at this beef. It's highly nutritious and good for the spleen and stomach. But beef is too coarse. and eating too much can damage the gastric mucosa. Therefore, we are accustomed to cooking beef with potatoes. This not only makes it delicious but also protects the gastric mucosa. I speculated. Is it possible that the things Lin Xiaoyang came into contact with were not toxic on their own, but became toxic when two or more of them were combined? Su Nanting was a little disappointed. Do you think the chemistry experts at Tsinghua are idle? We considered this possibility long ago and found nothing. Let me tell you, after the incident, everything related to Lin Xiaoyang, from the large furniture like the bed, desk, and bookshelf, to small items like a strand of hair, was sent to the laboratory. Not to mention two things, they even tested combinations of 3 or more substances and still found no loopholes. I listened, inwardly cursing the guilt 1,000 times. With such an IQ, if it were used to serve the country, wouldn't it be a waste? After eating a few mouthfuls of rice, I asked again, is it possible that Lin Xiaoyang used something that the police did not detect? The books in the library and the equipment in the laboratory had all been checked. Su Nanting still shook his head. He was so frustrated that he could only rely on eating to temporarily forget the case. He ate large bites, the clatter of chopsticks and rice in the bowl echoing. Suddenly, he stopped and shouted at me, "Damn it, I put in so much effort just to get this sentence." I immediately got angry and slammed the table. "You are the damn one! You are a police officer who cannot accept new ideas, a police officer who still curses." He quickly put down his bowl and took my hand. "I wasn't scolding you. I meant the waste that Lin Xiaoyang discarded, and we haven't checked. The waste was processed, so after the incident, the evidence was destroyed. This is a new line of thought. However, since the waste was processed, how can we find it again? The waste Lin Xiaoyang discarded on the day of the incident must have been tested. Nothing was found. Then Su Nanting reasoned backward. If it was chronic poisoning, it must be something she used for a long time. Is there anything she needed to use frequently and then immediately threw away? Toilet paper. Su Nanting shook his head. It was checked. She usually bought it at the supermarket on campus. The university's supermarket would not dare to sell counterfeit or substandard goods. She used a pen. It was checked. Lin Xiaoyang had a very good habit of using only one pen at a time and buying a new one only after finishing the current one. She was not picky about pens and would use whatever she found in the supermarket. It's a bit difficult to get into this. At this point, the older professors played their part. They stated that scrap paper was used in large quantities daily. After use, to prevent information leakage, it could not be discarded directly, but had to be shredded in a document shredder, and then a dedicated person would incinerate it. However, the scrap paper itself was certainly not problematic. They all used the same type. Who would dare tamper with such a common item? It would be immediately apparent. This was not necessarily true. Su Nanting quickly dispatched personnel to collect samples and led me to the scrap paper printing workshop. Soon after, they determined the paper's composition. Comparing it with other types of scrap paper, Su Nanting discovered that the paper provided exclusively to Lin Xiaoyang's department contained an additional additive called Qian fragrance. The manufacturer explained that it was merely to enhance the paper with a refreshing scent, providing users with a better experience. With this information, Su Nanting felt a breakthrough. They had been pursuing the wrong line of inquiry. They had only investigated what substances were present in her belongings, without considering what substances might have been added to them. Indeed, the police soon discovered that among the badges and medals received by Lin Xiaoyang, when compared to ordinary badges and medals, there was an additional substance which they named element N7. Element N7 itself is not toxic. It is a metallic element similar to gold, However, when combined with Kian fragrance, it triggers a chemical reaction. As for whether it could produce a lethal toxin, a conclusion could not yet be reached due to the lack of precedent. Even if we find test subjects for experiments now, it would take 3 to 5 years to get results. Next, I arranged for Lin Xiaoyang and Shu Nanting to meet again, this time at Lin Xiaoyang's laboratory. Lin Xiaoyang said, "I thought similar toxins would usually be stored in the chemical storage room. However, in reality, besides chemicals proven to be toxic, there are also substances under research which the chemistry lab would also possess. Assuming it was chronic poisoning, even if my body showed no reaction, the health checkup report would definitely reflect it. My internal organs could not have turned completely black in an instant." Thus, all three of us reached the same conclusion. Someone had altered Lin Xiaoyang's health check-up report. So, the investigation's target now resembles a bullseye. We can love it directly at it. It must have been the hospital responsible for the health check-up that was involved. Others would not have had the opportunity to do this. Shu Nanting said he would immediately report to his superiors, but to investigate the person who altered the report. Lin Xiaoyang stopped him. Someone who could manipulate the factory, enter the medical research room, and mobilize people to alter the health check report. This is not something an ordinary person could do. Besides his exceptional intelligence, the resources around him are also extremely abundant. A person like that, relying solely on your police force, may not be able to bring him to justice. Su Nanning agreed. That's right, moreover. Based on the situation we currently grasp, even if we find the person who altered the report, we cannot link that person to this poisoning case. Rushing to search will only alert the enemy without any other effect. The urgent matter now is that we must enter the chemical research room. At this moment, they strangely agreed, their eyes all turned towards me. "Do you have a way for me to enter there and find evidence?" Lin Xiaoyang asked. "That is not difficult, but the crux of the matter is that souls cannot touch objects." "Then I can't simply present evidence for her to see, can I?" Su Nanting specifically asked his mother to stew a pigeon for me. It tasted excellent, but this had no effect on me. "There is a way," I said, waving my mouth. "I can cast a spell for you to possess an employee. But with my power, it can last for 10 minutes at most. That's enough. I can do it." Just as I was about to cast the spell for her, she suddenly asked curiously, "If I possess someone else, I can control their actions, right?" I nodded, and she excitedly asked, "Then if I possess my own body, can I come back to life for 10 minutes? I want to say goodbye to my parents." I pondered, feeling a bit strange, but I still said, "In principle, yes." Lin Xiaoyang happily thought for a moment, then jumped up, completely ignoring the darkening expression of Shu Nanting. His originally handsome features now looked as if he had just swallowed something extremely bitter. Because Lin Xiaoyang immediately asked, "Officer Shu, where is my body now?" Su Nanting pretended to cough, put her gauze, and said softly, "It has been autopsied." He dared not face Lin Xiaoyang's disappointment. Then changed the subject to me, asking, "A body internal whose organs have been removed, but then sewn back up, can it still be used?" I also coughed a few times, feeling for the first time the desire to protect the soul of a genius young woman like Lin Xiaoyang. He joked, "If that's the case, I don't think you want to say goodbye to your parents. You want to take them with you." Lin Xiaoyang was very disappointed and flew away. I didn't tease Su Nanting. He called out, "Sister Lin Xiaoyang, I have a major discovery." This person, too eager to solve the case, without a second thought, called me directly, "Little Sister Lin Xiaoyang." Who knew Lin Xiaoyang hadn't flown far yet? She glared at me, "Are you sick?" Now I realize, compared to those two, I'm the normal one. What major discovery? I don't know. She turned back with an expression of extreme surprise. In that moment, I understood most intuitively what eyes full of affection looked like. Those eyes truly left Shen Linnian speechless, hurriedly saying, "Be careful." Lin Xiaoyang, rarely showing a maiden's shyness. Brother Shu Nanting, thank you. Are you sick? Now I realize, compared to those two, I'm the normal one. What major discovery? Shu Nanting put his arm around my shoulder and then casually put me in a headlock. Stop threatening me. You'd better tell me where the evidence is, or I'll make you regret it. I wasn't laughing out loud before, but now I really can't hold it in. I pushed him away. Let's play a game. We write the suspect's name on our palms, then turn them over together. See if we think of the same person. He casually dismissed it as childish, but complicated nonetheless. He opened his hand and gestured for me to do the same. Since neither of us had a pen, we had to write on each other's palms with our fingers. I wrote the character. Death? He wrote. Wei? We looked at each other and smiled. He said, the person who falsified the report must have identified her. That is the Wei family's property. What is her status? Did our Lin Xiaoyang offend her? Wei Xiaoxi, from the influential families in the capital. Lighting a cigarette, he said helplessly, let me put it this way. Even if all the evidence is submitted, an arrest warrant may not be issued. Even if an arrest warrant is issued, the person may not be apprehended. Even if the person is apprehended, conviction may not be secured. Even if convicted, a death sentence may not be carried out. Even if a death sentence is carried out, the deceased may not even be her. How wonderful would that be? I read myself a cigarette as well, thinking that 5 years ago, before she was even an adult, she had already devised such a wicked plan to harm others. Every move and step was meticulously designed without a single flaw. She must be someone with a superhuman IQ. She immediately fled abroad. If I didn't know soul summoning, her name might not have even caught the police's attention. The most terrifying thing is, continuously for 5 years, altering 10 health examination reports with this psychological manipulation. She ranks number 1. No one dares to claim second place. So isn't this a tailor-made gift for me? In less than a few minutes, a person in a white coat came out, a file, open to reveal clearly written reports inside, coherent and meticulous. I snapped my fingers to separate the soul from the body, but this time, I did not give her the chance to speak and directly sealed her into the soul container. These past few days, everything I've done has nearly depleted my life force. If I don't act again, the next person to die suddenly will be me. So, will the police arrest her? They certainly must. Law enforcement officers are there to uphold justice. Because, from the moment the police contacted Wei Xiaoxi, she was likely already on guard and had moved. With her family's capabilities, hiding her would not be difficult. I argued. But no matter how powerful her family is, it's not as powerful as the people. We reached a consensus once again. Shen Linnian said, I will be responsible for apprehending the suspect abroad, and you will be responsible for creating public momentum domestically. Shen Linnian took sick leave at the crucial moment, and I was still carrying the burden of bringing the suspect to justice. Previously, Shen Linnian always used the excuse that I could assist in solving the case to keep me by his side. This time, he could not take me abroad with him. So, I played a game of prison escape. Then, before the police could react, I live-streamed it for the whole nation to see. I deliberately recorded a video of myself, sending the real culprit's photo to Shen Linnian previously, precisely to have the opportunity to confront him more directly. I did not expect it to be used for this purpose now. Introducing myself. My name is Detective Shen Linnian, currently working as a private investigator. In the past 2 years, I have single, handedly solved 8 murder cases with an efficiency several times the police's case, solving speed. Regarding the murder of the genius young girl, the police currently have no clues, but I have already found the real culprit. I held up Lin Xiaoyang's medal. This is a relic of the deceased that I obtained from the police. It is the International Mathematical Olympiad Championship medal she once received. I discovered that the medal contained a metallic element called N7. N7 itself is not toxic. But I also discovered that the type of scrap paper that Lin Xiaoyang frequently used contains a substance called Qian fragrance. These two substances react chemically to form a poison. The evidence is clear and undeniable. Immediately, my live stream caused a huge stir. This is an assisted suicide drug being researched by a certain company. In the absence of special protection, the toxin can naturally volatilize and enter the human body's internal organs. Long-term absorption will cause the internal organs to gradually lose function, but the body will not feel obvious pain. Under normal circumstances, a health check-up could detect abnormalities in the organs. But the culprit had repeatedly altered and falsified Lin Xiaoyang's health reports for 5 consecutive years. This left her unaware until her body finally gave out and she died. Before I could even wrap up, the live stream chat was flooded with comments asking who the killer was. I replied, I don't know. But I found out that the Health Examination Center responsible for examining students from Tsinghua University is a subsidiary of the Wei Families Corporation. Similarly, the Chemical Research Institute, which is researching euthanasia drugs, is also a subsidiary of the Wei Families Corporation. The most significant commonality is that the eldest daughter of the Wei Families Corporation, Wei Xiaoxi, was once Lin Xiaoyang's roommate. I cannot be certain that she is the culprit, but I believe she is sufficiently suspicious. The reason I employed such a drastic method to inform everyone of my suspicions instead of directly submitting the evidence to the police is because Wei Xiaoxi is currently not in the country. After going abroad to study 5 years ago, she has never returned. The police have attempted to contact her, but she said it a busy work schedule, preventing her from assisting the police investigation with her testimony. Therefore, I hope to use this method to exert public pressure to force her to return to the country and accept the investigation. If my speculation is incorrect, I am willing to bear all legal responsibilities. In addition, for the next 3 days, I will live stream punctually every evening at 8 p.m. To date, all the evidence we have obtained cannot confirm that Wei Xiaoxi is the culprit. She is known for being kind. Even though time has passed, she still remembers some events that occurred when she was in the same room with Wei Xiaoxi. She said, I don't clearly remember what specific conflict occurred with her, but I feel she is very hypocritical. She disliked me that much. Yet she always tried to strike up a conversation. I have never had the time to pay attention to the feelings of others. Basically, it was what she said. But I remember very clearly the fresh scent on the scrap paper indeed only existed around the time not long before she went abroad. She seemed to admire my medals greatly. She once asked me, will you always carry these things with you? At that time, I replied, yes, because this is my self-recognition. Speaking of which, she revealed a look of sorrow. Geniuses are lonely, geniuses are solitary. I don't know for what reason I chose this path. To obtain these things, I gave up a lot. I did not have a happy childhood. My intellectual prowess made it impossible for me to be close to my parents from a young age. All the time, I immersed myself in a world that no one understood, fighting alone in a world no one comprehended. These medals and awards are the results of my many desperate battles on the battlefield. They may seem like proof of my outstanding talent, but in reality, they are more like the ordinary human affection that I painfully discarded. Therefore, I carried them with me wherever I went. We all understand clearly, based solely on the existing evidence, there is fundamentally no way to convict Wei Xiaoxi. The only way is to muddy the waters. This will cause a lot of chain reactions, whether it's scrap paper, metals, or falsifying health check reports. All require someone to do it for her. So this chess game is to expose those who acted on her orders. Shunanting. The perpetrator likes to use their modus operandi to cover up loopholes. This matter concerns the whole country. No one can afford to be complacent. The family thinks they want to clear their name. Those people, if they don't want to suffer consequences, can only cooperate with the police and reveal everything they know. No one predicted that someone would not dare to confess, but would have the guts to come to me. My live stream status? Currently no one dares to ban, otherwise, the public's emotions, who are concerned about this case, will escalate further. Among them, the key force is the students of Tsinghua University. Firstly, they are at an age of fervent passion, doing anything with the momentum of defiance. Secondly, Tsinghua is a top university where any randomly selected student is a future pillar of the nation. With so many pillars gathered, it is not an exaggeration to call them the future of the country. The Wei family is currently facing attacks from all sides. If they speak out to clarify, it would appear as if they have something to hide. If they remain silent, it would imply their guilt has been exposed, leaving them with nothing to say. Any action they take could incite a major uproar. Their best crisis management strategy was to keep Wei Xiaoxi out of sight and let time bury everything. Nothing. However, as soon as someone directly provided evidence of Wei Xiaoxi instructing someone to alter the health report, the police immediately issued an arrest warrant, coercively demanded that Wei Xiaoxi immediately return to the country for interrogation. However, the Wei family did not show any fear regarding this request. The police cannot forcibly bring back a person who is abroad. This matter also involves extradition treaties between countries and even requires the intervention of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Without interrogation, no conviction can be made. She will forever remain only a suspect. Upon realizing this, the legal circles could not help but feel pessimistic, because they understood better than ordinary people that the probability of the real culprit being brought to justice is very low. This time, the number of people who expressed indignation on behalf of Lin Xiaoyang increased even further. Her parents, with their hair already streaked with gray, ran to various government agencies but received no accurate answers. Wishing you a good day. The Wei family believed that by continuing to manage the situation, they could quell the matter. However, at their moment of greatest complacency, Wei Xiaoxi was apprehended. Shunanting found her at a domestic homestay. When everyone thought Shunanting had gone abroad to apprehend the suspect, in reality, he was still in the country, because he believed that everything Wei Xiaoxi had done was resolute and without guilt. For this type of criminal, one cannot use the psychology of ordinary people to speculate. At the moment the news of Lin Xiaoyang's poisoning and death reached her, what would she think? She had spent so much effort, so many schemes to achieve her goal. How could she allow herself to be abroad, yearning for this place? Shunanting said. She would definitely be eager to return to the country to confirm the truth. If Lin Xiaoyang had held a memorial service, she would certainly come to pay her respects. Therefore, I can confidently guess that she has secretly returned to the country. When she heard that I was going abroad to pursue her, she would definitely think that the most dangerous place is the safest place. Going abroad at this time would not be a wise move. It would be better to hide and wait for things to cool down before making plans. As expected, Shunanting used big data to screen luxury goods purchase history. Finally, through Lin Xiaoyang's guess, when Shu Nanting brought her back to the police station. The surroundings were filled with onlookers, and the vehicles on the road were completely immobilized. The police station was packed for the brim. No matter how high the emotions of netizens soared, the police, as law enforcers, must still rely on evidence to adjudicate cases. Therefore, to prevent any unforeseen incidents, the police dispatched many officers to closely guard her. I deliberately chose this day to confess. I intended to let Wei Xiaoxi's true face be seen before the eyes of the public. In summary, the public wants the guilt to pay for their crimes. While I want Wei Xiaoxi's soul to prolong my life, I have always wanted to capture the soul of a highly intelligent criminal. Thus, I can prolong my life. This is a life-extending method that my ancestors spent hundreds of years to discover. Initially, precisely because I did not want to reach this point, I considered going abroad to find other methods. But then I was captured by Shu Nanting and imprisoned. During the year and a half in prison, I reflected further. That is, the higher the intelligence of the souls I collect, the longer my lifespan will be. Then, I always yearned to capture the soul of a genius, but capturing the souls of good people would burden my conscience. So, I decided to target criminals with super intelligent minds. I disappointed Lin Xiaoyang. The current evidence is insufficient to sentence Wei Xiaoxi to death. And even if she were sentenced to death, with her family's influence, it would not be impossible for her to escape punishment. Later, I will perform a ritual to have you possess a police officer. You will distract them for me so I can get close to Wei Xiaoxi. She did not ask what I intended to do and agreed immediately. However, when I performed the ritual, an accident occurred. Lin Xiaoyang did not possess the police officer, but possessed me directly. Are you insane? I roared. Do you know that if I exert force, your soul will be scattered? Brother Shen, give me 5 minutes. I want to ask her why she killed me. She rarely complained with me like this. I am not afraid of death, but I am unwilling to accept it. I agreed. She immediately used my body to escape the police's control and quickly ran into the front of the media cameras. Does everyone still recognize me? I am the private detective who live streamed, Shen Linnian. I have disappointed everyone. Lin Xiaoyang's death has nothing to do with Wei Xiaoxi. It was a personal vendetta between her and me. But she was too well hidden, and I couldn't find her. So I cleverly used this case and the police to find her. She turned and pointed at Wei Xiaoxi, asking, "Look at her, everyone. Isn't she just a useless young lady born with a silver spoon in her mouth? Besides spending money, she knows nothing else. What capability does she have to kill Lin Xiaoyang, the so-called genius?" With just those few words, the crowd at the scene was about to explode. Surging forward, the police were momentarily unable to control the situation and couldn't even distinguish whether their anger was directed at me or Wei Xiaoxi. However, the first one to explode was Wei Xiaoxi herself. She shouted, "Lin Xiaoyang was killed by me. To kill her, I personally refined the new Aloe N7. What's so special about her? Why is she a genius? What she can do, I can do too. Why is she the genius maiden you all worship, while I am just the young lady who relies on her family background? I am not convinced. I just wanted to kill the genius you created with your own hands. I just wanted to tell you all that she is nothing special. I only needed a little trick, and she would have nowhere to hide. She likes to calculate, doesn't she? Evidence is important, but her own confession is also very important. In an instant, I understood Lin Xiaoyang's intention. Unfortunately, she couldn't stay with me for too long, otherwise, both of us would die. I took her back into the soul container and asked Wei Xiaoxi, "Are you so jealous of her, hating her to the point of wanting her dead?" She was jealous. No, this isn't jealousy, it's ambition. The living are the victors. Geniuses never live long. Do you know why? It's not that others are jealous and make them unable to live, but that they themselves are shortening their lifespan. She looked at the crowd before her and asked again, "Don't you hate her? Hasn't her radiance ever stolen your fortune? We always talk about fairness and justice, but where Lin Xiaoyang is, can there be fairness and justice? We all favor her. Everything she says and does is right. She thinks she's above everyone else and doesn't care about anyone. Have you ever heard the saying, 'What you can do at 18, Lin Xiaoyang did at 12. Lin Xiaoyang's perfect score is the perfect score for the entire exam. While the 1 point you're missing is a point your ability can't reach. As long as she's here, do you stand a chance? You must be secretly thanking me, right? I'm the one who helped you see the light.'" In that moment, the originally noisy and chaotic scene fell silent, with only the sound of everyone's ragged breaths filling the air. Wei Xiaoxi raised her hands to the sky and spoke mysteriously. "Geniuses do not belong to this world. She was extremely lonely and caused endless suffering to those around her. She should return to her own world. She is your genius, and I am the one who ends geniuses. My life is more glorious than hers, no matter how the world changes, no matter how time passes. Wei Xiaoxi will no longer be the young miss of the Wei family, but Wei Xiaoxi, the one who ends geniuses. The world will forever remember my name. It is truly unexpected that the suspect everyone feared would not be convicted, would instead vie to confess. Because this may be the only pride in her life. She has killed the towering mountain she could never surmount. I am about to die. But I still feel fortunate that I did not become a murderer. I have decided to use my last bit of strength to perform a ritual for Lin Xiaoyang. But she refused. She remained suspended cross-legged before me, looking down with a condescending gaze, and commanded, "Kneel." What in the world? I am performing a ritual for you, helping you reincarnate properly, and I have to kneel before you. I had barely uttered a few words of protest when she flew into a rage. I am the deceased. So what if I tell you to kneel? Kneel to the earth, kneel to the departed. Is there a problem? Don't say any more. When she was aggressive, she truly possessed an overwhelming aura. All right, I knelt on both knees. This is your final journey as Lin Xiaoyang. If you have any last words, speak them. I will do my best. She hesitated for a moment, then said, "I wish to offer my soul to you." Are you insane? I was totally astonished. Do you know what offering one's soul entails? Once a soul is offered, you will be eternally unable to reincarnate. As long as I am alive, it is fine, but if I die, your soul will be scattered. I can manipulate everything about you, and you will be forced to obey all my commands. If I tell you to go up the mountain, you must go up the mountain. If I tell you to go down to the sea, you must go down to the sea. Are you willing to become a slave? Ordered around by others. I have never told her about how I prolong my life by seizing souls. Given how intelligent she is, she might have guessed it herself. Which is why she stopped me from capturing that criminal's soul myself. Compared to forcibly capturing another's soul by killing them and then subduing them, a voluntary sacrifice would naturally yield better results. However, for tens of thousands of years, no one has ever volunteered. Will you consider me a slave? I did not answer, as that was highly likely. After seizing the soul, she would also exist within my body. If I cannot control her, she might very well attack my soul in return. Lin Xiaoyang said that she was actually very fortunate. Fortunate to have died after being poisoned. Fortunate to have met me after her death. Suppose I were alive but dying, my soul imprisoned in a crippled body. My consciousness clearly awake, but unable to express myself, yearning to find the culprit, yet powerless. Perhaps the real culprit still appeared before me, mocking me, pitying me, humiliating me, yet I was powerless. Finally, day after day, year after year, dragging this crippled body to the end of life. Unspeakable sorrow, unyielding resentment, and unwillingness. I dare not imagine how agonizing that would be. A's for my parents. On one hand, unwilling to give up my life. On the other hand, they had no escape from their pleas for help. Each day they had to endure the extreme pain of losing their beloved daughter. Fortunately, they still have my sister to care for and support them. I understand her feelings. I long suspected that, regardless of the legal verdict, nothing. The young scoundrel would not have a peaceful life and would not be allowed to reincarnate peacefully even in death. I will imprison her soul on the stone bridge, enduring the wind and rain day and night for eternity, to be trampled and insulted. The matter of reincarnation involves forgetting all memories of this life, but I do not wish to forget. I do not wish to forget the data and conclusions I painstakingly deduced. I do not wish to forget the people and events I have remembered over these short 18 years. I even less wish to forget the moving feelings and all memories of him, because they are already so scarce and perhaps will never be revived. Actually, I discovered long ago that Lin Xiaoyang likes Shu Nanting, but hearing her admitted herself at this moment, I still felt incredibly surprised. Shu Nanting was 28 years old, only 10 years older than her. Their lives should not have had any intersection. Looking at Shu Nanting's appearance, he might have heard of Lin Xiaoyang's great reputation. But before the incident, he certainly did not know her. She likes Shu Nanting. Lin Xiaoyang did not hide it, nodding vigorously. If only my death could exchange for a chance to be close to him, I think I would be willing. My mouth opened wide enough to fit a chicken egg. So, our genius girl was a love-struck fool. I know you will mock me, but you don't understand. For someone like me, it is already a wonderful thing in this world for someone to attract my attention. That beauty, perhaps, only happened once in 18 years. She pleaded. Can I see him one more time? I don't want to do anything to him, nor do I have any words to say. I simply want to see him once. After the case was closed, Shu Nanting requested his superiors to waive my responsibility. After all, besides sneaking into the evidence room to steal Lin Xiaoyang's underwear, I didn't commit any serious crime. Ironically, it was this action of mine that helped them solve the cold case. Next, he dragged me to the hospital. He said, "You look so full of life, you won't die. I believe in strange things in this world, but I don't believe that a person who is perfectly healthy would suddenly die. Trust the doctor, trust science. Didn't you wish for my death? I cursed you so much." Those 108 letters, I cursed him to death, using the dirtiest words I could think of to send to him. Yet this man not only didn't come to see me as I expected, but he didn't even reply to a single letter. No need to bother anymore. I can't die. I stopped and said, I lied to you. He immediately showed disappointment. So my soul is fake. It's real, but the part about me dying at 30 is fake. I just wanted to appear pitiful in front of you to gain your sympathy. His situation didn't improve either. I asked, what's wrong? I didn't die. Are you very disappointed? He shook his head. It just feels like these past few days have been a dream. Where will she go? Another world. I was afraid he would ask too many questions, so I quickly said, I've never been to that world either, so I don't know what it's like. Do you still remember you promised me something? I suggested. I suddenly want to go shopping. Will you come with me? He looked very confused, but still agreed, and so his life became filled with many more questions. What are you looking at me like that for? What man likes to eat cotton candy? No joke, brother. That's a girl's dreamy purple color. Don't push it. Painting nails is not something a police officer should do. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. Shen Linnian, tell me the truth. Are you gay? What? You too? I was joking. He kicked me hard. Do you want to die? I ran ahead, he chased behind. We played around for a long time. He asked, do you have any plans? No, I've always been like this. The world is my home. Wherever I'm needed, I'll be there, he said seriously. I need you right now? I'm applying to establish a spiritual investigation team. Will you stay and help me? I looked at him, unsure whether to agree. My original plan was to take his soul, but I saw that he was a good police officer, dedicated to his work, and did not deserve such a tragic end. Then, I wanted Lin Xiaoyang to voluntarily sacrifice her soul. After all, she was already dead. However, I couldn't bear to let such a talented person become a slave forever, unable to reincarnate. Finally, I shifted my target to Wei Xiaoxi. But I changed my mind. Such a wicked person is not worthy of becoming one with my soul. Lin Xiaoyang can indeed never reincarnate, but from another perspective, she has also achieved eternity. It's not impossible, I told Shu Nanting. How about this? While I'm alive, you listen to me. After I die, you still listen to me. Besides, I'm going to Tsinghua to find Lin Qi. I made him kneel and kowtow to me, forcing him to take me as his master. Because I will pass on all of Lin Xiaoyang's knowledge and skills to him. He will carry the hopes of many people to continue Lin Xiaoyang's research, maximizing humanity's survival potential in this era. Lin Xiaoyang told me that the earth can be eternal, but civilization is always in a cycle of destruction and rebirth. She deduced that in another 1052 years, our civilization would be completely destroyed. To preserve the remnants of this civilization, it is imperative to ensure at least one male and one female survive the apocalypse. This is the only way to sustain our civilization and allow humanity to thrive in the future. That's all for today. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and a thumbs up. Wishing you all great success and prosperity.